Hey everybody, welcome to a very special episode of Scarred Lands, Sins of Shelzar, Dead Man's Rust. Tonight we're not actually doing Sins of Shelzar stuff. Tonight I am doing character creation. We will be doing an upcoming episode of the Onyx Pathcast. I'll be playing or running it for the Pathcast crew. Just give me one second. I just wanted to make sure that my audio is good. As you can see, I'm not wearing earphones because I'm flying solo. So, in any case, the thing that I wanted to get everyone together for, first of all, thank everybody for popping in, whether you're watching this live or in Memorex, as the case may be. But since we've got this opportunity coming up, we're going to be running some scenes from Dead Man's Rust, some of the material on the Onyx Pathcast coming up at some point in the indeterminate future. And I need to make a couple of pre-gens. It's been requested that I create two, one for Eddie and one for Matthew. So we're going to do that. But first, we're going to celebrate the release of Dead Man's Rust in PDF and POD. It dropped today over at DriveThruRPG. I am over the moon excited about it. I have pretty much been working on this book as long as I've been working with Onyx Path, close to it anyway, and feels really good to see it out in the world. I'm going to go ahead and throw the link there in the chat, and I'm sure I will do that multiple times throughout the course of the evening. But it is there in PDF and POD. If you backed it on the Kickstarter, you should already have your PDF, and you should have your POD coupon. Check your backer kit for details there. Thank you very much, Michael. It's good to see you, Mike, in the chat. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the congratulations. It is super cool. It's really nice to be able to start sharing this book with you all. And that's what we're going to dive into now. So, because I am an analog fella at heart, I brought my copy of Yegman's Guide to Gelspad, which we'll be using in this character creation process. And of course, I have my lovely handy-dandy Scarred Lands Player's Guide. And all this stuff is, 5e-OGL compatible, obviously. And, for some of the basic stuff, I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll just bring up D&D Beyond over here in the background in case we need to check out some rules, some things, some lists. I'm sure there will be some opportunities. Though you will see very quick if you're new to Scarred Lands, the character creation is a little different. Moreover, in the best way to show you is to show you, I suppose. All your basics are going to be the same. Now, I discussed in brief with each player what they would prefer. Eddie has decided to graciously fall upon his sword and play a Hollow Legionnaire, which in the plot of Dead Man's Rust, the Hollow Legionnaires are, you find out about midway through that there's a very existential threat to them, and you can kind of see a bit of that going on in the cover here of how rusted up her poor armor is. This disease called Legionnaire's Rust, that is part disease, part curse, that is kind of the principal antagonist, you might say, of the story. And it affects all constructs, but it especially affects those in the Hollow Legion. So, let me see what I can do to make that stop being field refreshes. Giant pain in the neck, and I know there's a way to make it stop. So, while I'm doing that, also, I just want to remind you all that I'm watching the chat. So if you have questions, anything you want to discuss, just want to say how awesome you think Skylands is, hop in the chat, drop a comment. Sorry, I'm unable to type and talk at the same time. There we go. Sorry, I'm just trying to get these fields to stop highlighting because I know that's going to drive me nuts, and I'm not at home watching it. So, very compelling television we're watching here. But yeah, while I'm working on figuring this out, Dead Man's Rest takes place in the world of the Scarred Lands. If you're not familiar with the world of the Scarred Lands, let's say you haven't been watching our actual play, we're here the first, third, and fifth Wednesday of every month, for the most part. And it's a setting that's basically, if you would imagine like a post-apocalyptic fantasy world, right? There was a war between the gods and the titans, and it took place recently. It took place in living memory. There are certain long-lived species, peoples, elves, dwarves, things along those lines, that might actually remember the war between the gods and the titans. It was only the calendar year at the start of Dead Man's Rest is AV 151, so 151 years after the defeat of the Titans. And so it's pretty recent. The planet is screwed up as a result of it. There's areas of the ecosystem that are screwed up as a result of it. There's the Blood Sea on the eastern coast of Gelspad, the main continent. There's the Hornsaw Forest, the Forest of Blood, where the Titan Mormo was rent limb from limb by her children. And that is where a large portion of this story takes place. The forest was twisted by Mormo's corrupted. And so many of these great changes happened during the Divine War. And one of those was the creation of the Hollow Knights. The Hollow Knights are a group of basically paladins that were very dedicated to the god Corion. And so much so that they allowed their spirits to be placed inside of effectively animated armor and fought by his side during the war. Well, the god Vangal, personal favorite of mine, god of like chaos, destruction, murk and stuff, was jealous of how strong the Hollow Knights were. So he desecrated their bodies so they wouldn't be able to have their souls put back. Which basically made them stuck in these armor suits forever. And so as a repayment for their duty, Corion granted them one of the few pieces of Gelspad that was still relatively pristine after the Divine War to create their own society. And over time, through some mechanics that are somewhat explained in the Scarred Lands Player's Guide, you have got Gelspad and in Dead Man's Rest, the Hollow Knights came to discover how to create children of a sort, the Hollow Legionnaires. These are the souls of those who had things left to do, whether they be people who died heroic or maybe people who just died too soon. And their souls are brought in by these various different spires and bound magically into suits of armor, where they become a new identity, a new person, a new entity, a new being. They held on to some memories of their previous existence, and in some cases, you'll get like someone who's more of like a RoboCop, like an Alex Murphy type, where they really have strong memories of who they were, and it's a strong piece of their identity. And then you'll get others who aren't really connected to that person much at all. So those are the Hollow Legionnaires, and they're a new people. They were first created after the Divine World was over, so they're very much trying to find their place in this new world. And just as they are, some group of evil wizards comes to steal their power, as will happen in fantasy world. So anyway, that was a very, very long and roundabout and rambly way of saying that Eddie's going to play a Hollow Legionnaire, and I can't figure out how to get these silly PDF fields to stop fielding, so they're just going to keep fielding. I apologize. We have decided on level 10, and I believe Eddie was going to go with a Paladin, so we can just fill that in now. We know it's going to be the case. We know that this people is going to be Hollow Legionnaire. Are we behaving? Sort of? Not really. Alright, so we have level 10 Paladin, Hollow Legionnaire. So now we're going to go into the Hollow Legionnaires are introduced in the Scarlands Player's Guide, and there is a basic write-up for them for anything you might need to do. However, we expanded on it a bit and refined the rules for it a bit, as we did with many of the people's in Yagman's Guide Gelspad. So we're going to crack that open. Yagman's Guide Gelspad is available at DriveThruRPG in PDF and POD. Kick that over to the Hollow Legionnaires. Now, when I make characters for things, I tend to prefer to use standard array as my generation method. But I think that's what we're going to do. Just trying to fix this. Here, let's have you look at the cover while I work on this. Another window. Did that work? Sure did. Beautiful. So yeah, I prefer standard array. We're looking at just so that I'm sure I'm not making any mistakes, we're going to go ahead and bring up the basic rule book. So standard array is 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. And we know that Eddie's going to be playing a Paladin. Just having the hardest time figuring out how to make these stop being so ugly for you. For that, I apologize. Here we go. Aha! I've slain the beast. Sorry about the inconvenience there and the waste of time. At least I was able to sort of chat through the dead air, right? So, Eddie's Paladin, level 10. Basic rules, underclass suggest for a Paladin so your quick build is strength should be your highest ability score, followed by charisma. Alright, so now we know that strength is probably going to be pretty important. So yeah, let's go ahead and pop that 15 in there. Let's pop 14 charisma. The 13 in con. We know that that's going to be a uphill battle for our hero. Dexterity 8. He's going to be a little bit on the clumsy side. Or she, or they, or Faye. I'm not sure. I'll leave that up to Eddie. Interesting side note about gender and the Hollow Legion. Several of them, because they are effectively animate suits of armor, don't really much consider gender or consider themselves non-binary because it's not something. So it's just interesting. In fact, there's also several Hollow Legionnaires that are, they're transgender, that have been, they live their life one way, as one gender, and when they came back, perhaps their armor didn't match that gender, and they want to seek out and alter that, or perhaps they feel more at home in a different set of armor. Again, it's like any sort of story that you can tell about those types of themes you can explore with the Hollow Legionnaires, and I think it's really cool. They're very wide open in that sense. It's a little cool piece of representation. All right, so we've got our ability scores sorted out. Next, we're going to go through and I'm going to crack open Yugman's Guide. And to keep things simple, we have a well, why not? Let's show it off. We have a sort of a broken up the slot that's traditionally filled by race. We've sort of divided into sort of your genealogical background of your people and then the culture of your people. And you can swap those around relatively freely. The rules for doing so are in Yugman's Guide. But the Hollow Legion, the expanded rules we have in here for them are basically along the same lines of the same thing. It doesn't really require an extra rule set. So let me just flip through here and find where our lovely Legionnaires are. I think I know. Put the book to it. Yet. And here we are. Sorry about that. I'm fighting off allergies, I think. So, with the Hollow Legionnaire revised, they get an ability score increase. One ability of their choice increases by 1. So we know that charisma, wisdom, and strength are all important. In fact, let's drop the int 10. Take the wisdom up to 12. I just realized I'm probably a little too zoomed out for you to really see what's going on. And I got a stream cat. Everybody say hi to Lore. Hi, Lore. Lore is our brand new kitten. Dreamer, the cat that we for many a year passed on not too long ago. So we got a new kitty. There you go, Lore. Try not to swing off of my green screen if you can help it. Okay, stop doing that anytime now. Tell you what, doesn't like behaving in any freaking circumstances. Oh, well, thank you so much, Sarah. If you want to come remove the tiny cat, I certainly wouldn't stop you. Make a little adjustment so the sheet's a little bit better to read. And again, you know, it's largely like it's kind of a chill out, hang out, have fun sort of time here while we work on these characters. And any real pressure. I don't imagine that once I stop rambling and jaw jacking like a fool, we'll pass through character creation relatively quickly. Now that I'm not chasing 20 distractions. All right. So we swapped intelligence, wisdom. Let's give that +1 to wisdom. So we're all right. Next up, their age. Bodies of the Legionnaires are reborn, fully matured, and appear similar to what their mortal body looked like prior to death. So that's really kind of an aesthetic. It's up to the player. I'll leave that at Eddie's discretion. Size. Your form reflects how you appeared in life, no matter your height. You weigh a little more than your armor, typically between 40 and 65 pounds. And your size is medium. So again, you don't have to make any adjustments. Base walking speed is 30 feet. Drop a 30 in here. And this sheet that I promise is only a little bit of why Adobe is misbehaving, is a editable Sluritian Vault character sheet from the community content program that we have at DriveThruRPG. So if you wanted to make your own adventure, if you pick up a copy of Dead Man's Rest, for example, and you're like, oh, I want to write some side quests, you could absolutely do so and put them up for sale at the Sluritian Vault via DriveThruRPG. Look into that. I'll throw a link in the chat. And while I'm doing that, the next sort of, I guess, trait that the Legionnaires have is called Armor Bound. So they begin play proficient with light armor, and they are bound to the armor that they begin play with. So if you get like a different suit of armor from like a class, for example, you start play bound to that armor. You can only be bound to any armor you're bound to takes on markings that are inherent to you, and you can only be bound to one suit of armor at a time. So you might spend you can spend 1 hour to bond with armor just like you would attuning a magic item. So you can switch over to another suit of armor down the road. You can attune magic armor and bind with it normally. And when you bind with a new set, the old set loses your designs while the set gains them. You also have Spireborn, which means you're a semi-living amalgamation of physical armor and spirit, returned from beyond with abilities granted by the Spire you were created from. You do not need to eat, drink, sleep, or breathe to survive. You may choose to do so if it's beneficial for you. And magic cannot put you to sleep. During a long rest, you do not sleep. Instead, you may engage in light activity during the 8 hours and still benefit from rest. Other creatures have disadvantage on insight checks made to determine your emotions or intentions. So because I don't want to make Eddie's life a living hell, what I'll do is I'm just going to write in the name of those two traits. and the page number, which is Yugman's page 80. Because neither of those are going to directly come up in like a combat situation, most likely, aside from the ability the magic can't put you to sleep. So I'll make sure I note that. Okay. Also, resistant to poison damage. As a result of being Spireborn. And one of my favorite features of the Hollow Legion, your exposed skin is translucent and glows faintly, casting a dim light in a 5-foot radius. So you have disadvantage on stealth checks. And anything that looks at the background through your exposed skin makes its perception check. So that's an interesting little thing. So you have this little glow. You're kind of like a little glow bug. Remember the glow bugs? I'm old. So I should say sturdy stealth. Oh. All right. Next up, we have Legion's Price. When you die, the spirit matter that makes up your body fades away after 1 minute, after which you cannot benefit from magic or abilities that restore a creature to life. Only a true resurrection or wish spell has the power to return your spirit to your armor. So just, again, trying to summate these up. And again, there are page numbers there, so Eddie can look it up, or I can look it up during game. Next up, we have Past Life Knowledge. So you recall little to nothing of your mortal life. You do recall bits and pieces that prove useful. Select one skill to be proficient in. So since we know that we're going to be doing a Paladin, we know where we're going to be playing, it's going to be in the Hornsoft Forest, I'm going to go ahead and just pop in a nature proficiency. So we don't eat that with the Paladin, or to fill it out with the background, we have to find a way. We know that we got that nature proficiency covered, so that'll help. And then languages, speak Lydian and one other language. We're going to go with Dunahan because that is the local. No, you know what? We'll go with Elvish. Elvish or Dunahan? Elvish or Dunahan? Oh, no kidding, Fairylaw. Well, hopefully this helps you out. I mean, I am not taking the most linear route right now. I'm kind of thinking out loud while I'm doing this. But hopefully it helps you out. So yeah, for languages, you know what? We're going to go with Lydian, which is kind of trade common in the Scarredlands, and Dunahan, which is the local language in the Gaspar Peaks, but particularly in Glivida, which is the sort of major city of necromancers, who are, again, sort of the antagonists, if you will, or responsible, attached to the antagonist of the campaign, if you will. And then last, they get to choose one of the following sub-peoples, sub-races, the Spire that they belong to. And so he's going to be a Paladin. And we want to show off one of the elements of of Dead Man's Rust is Legionnaire's Rust and how it sort of degrades you over time. So I want to show that off, but I also want to make sure I don't just like accidentally kill Eddie. So let's go for something that's going to help with the survivability. You got the Adamantine Spire, which are Legionnaires who are good-natured, even in terrible times, and loyal companions on the battlefield and off. Their Constitution score goes up, and their hit point maximum goes up each time they level by an additional 1. Excuse me. You also have advantage on death saves. Then there's the Golden Spire. Legionnaires of the Gold Spire see themselves as part of the grand design. They're often forthright in their interactions with others. Can't be blinded by bright light. And they know the light cantrip. They have advantage on saving throws against being charmed. And they get either a wisdom or charisma score. There is the Iron Spire, which is strength or charisma goes up by 1, and Iron's Accord. You're proficient in intimidation skill. When your creature you can see makes a successful melee attack against another creature within 5 feet of you, you can interpose your own ephemeral energy between attacker and target, reducing damage to the target by half. So you can sort of like take a blow for it. That's pretty cool. There's the Mithril Spire, which are staunch in their beliefs, often quick to judge others that step outside those boundaries. They are, however, slow to condemn others without proof. It says your Dex or Intelligence goes up by 1, and your base walking speed increases by 5. Wearing armor doesn't reduce your speed. You have advantage on saves against disease. Come in handy as well. And lastly is the Silver Spire, which are slow to trust, tending to keep company with those from their own spire. Once they do connect with an outsider, their bonds are unbreakable. And they get either Intelligence or Wisdom by 1, and Silver's Accord. They're proficient in Insight. They have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened, and are immune to exhaustion. So that comes in handy as well. But I think, given all the givens, we're going to take Mithril Spire, partially to give them that save against disease progression, because, again, Legionnaire's Rust is deadly in this game. It is no joke. It is a good way for a character to die. It says right on in the description of Legionnaire's Rust, which I will bring up. Excuse me again. Right here in this lovely, brand new, awesome PDF I've got. So here's the deal. You have a magical plague. I doubt you can probably see that on the screen right now. But it's a slow killer that targets Hollow Knights, Hollow Legionnaires, Mechanoid Emulators, and other humanoid-like constructs. It's spread via airborne transmission and is highly contagious. After a Legionnaire is infected, they lose energy and vigor slowly but surely until their death. Any creature that comes within 30 feet of a creature or object infected with Legionnaire's Rust must succeed on a DC 20 Constitution saving throw. Yeah, it's easy to catch. So, I think in the name of being benevolent deity, I will go with Mithril Spire. Having the worst tech issues. Sorry. Alright. So Mithril Spire, and that excuse me. Grants Mithril's Accord. Okay. So hopefully character sheet stops breaking. It will reflect that. No, I'm having a hard time, and it's not the sheet. I wish I said it was. It's my Adobe misbehaving rather regularly. That also increases his speed by 5 feet, so now we're looking at a speed of 5. Now, as you can see, you could go, if you wanted to go into a different direction, you know, imagine combining that with a monk. So now or a barbarian. Your speed starts going up exponentially. And there's a special type of armor in the Scarlands Player's Guide called Still Sleeve, which is actually an option for Hollow Legionnaires in Dead Man's Rust as well, to help slow the progression of the disease, because it's largely cloth and it just has like copper wiring in it basically that they inhabit. That's the metal they connect to. So you can have things like unarmored defense and things. And Fearloss says in the chat, if I were ever to DM, not saying I would, I'd lean heavy on exhaustion and disease mechanics. And that was one of the things that we wanted to sort of drive home with Dead Man's Rust. Probably there are 3 major locations in Dead Man's Rust. The Gleaming Valley, which is the home of the Hollow Legionnaires. Glivid Hotel, which is the home of the evil necromancers. And the Hornsaw Forest, which is just a deadly wild wilderness filled with sort of these Titan-corrupted monstrosities. And so we wanted to lean heavily on things like exhaustion, disease, the dangers of nature, the bizarre weather. The Divine War literally scarred the planet. It's not just a cute name. So the weather patterns are screwed up. So you get things like acidic blood rain in the Hornsaw Forest, for example. So yeah, fun stuff. I really think leaning on things like that as a DM makes it very cool and gives your game a flavor that goes beyond the I hit it till it stops moving type stuff. You know what I mean? Like that gets a little silly and old. So we've got everything that we get from being a Hollow Legionnaire covered. Now we're going over to class to the Paladin. A lot of the Paladin stuff is going to be what we get from the basic. So I'm just going to hop over to the basic rules over here on D&D Beyond, so that we've got them knocked out of the way. And we know we're going to 10th level, right? So we can... I'm going to take a couple of shortcuts here. If you're new to 5e, I apologize if this moves too fast. Feel free to ask me questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. You can also always tweet me questions about D&D and to answer them, but obviously there are people smarter than me about the system. So we know that we're going for 10th level. We know we're not going to multi-class this character because that is a whole lot of work for not a whole lot. So we know we can pop in that +4 proficiency bonus. We know that for spell slots, down here to our spellcasting class is going to be. We know that the Paladin spellcasting ability is wisdom, charisma. I knew that. Like I said, this is why we check the books. It's amazing the things you forget. I realized the other day after a mistake I made on a stream that I've been running movement wrong. So, always check your books. Always don't be afraid to second guess yourself. I guess go back and double check. Worst thing is you find out you were wrong and you fix it. Okay, so we know that that's going to be the spellcasting ability, and we know for spells they're going to have 4 first level slots. We have 3 second level slots. And we're going to have 2 third level slots. And then we'll work out spell preparation for them. I'm a nice guy. So, also because, again, I'm a benevolent deity, as it were, we're going to just go ahead and do average hit points. So let's get those ability score modifiers out of the way now. We may have to make a couple tweaks to them now that we've got the actual abilities in place. Like as we level up, we may make a couple tweaks to them. We'll see how it goes. So, the dexterity of 8 is going to be a +1. Yeah, mistakes are a great teacher. You get it wrong, and you do it better the next time. And here's the thing: Constitution 13 and the Wisdom 13 are both +1. And I was misremembering it before. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take that Wisdom back down to 12. That con up to 14. It's 2. All right. That is the +1 from the Spire. Excuse me. Or from just being a Howl Legionnaire. I forgot to add the bonus from the Spire. Like, I think sometimes people think that if you're sitting down to play Dungeons and Dragons, that there's, or any tabletop game for that matter, that there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and that you can, like, screw it up somehow and ruin everyone's fun. And there's no wrong way. You can make mistakes, you can be wrong about a rule, but if everybody's having fun, then there is no good time is good time. That's what matters. Intelligence is the plus that gets from Mithril Spire, so it's a +0. Wisdom is +1. Be +2. Constitution is +2. Strength will be +2. Excellent. So we're in pretty good shape for the ability score spread. Now getting back into our basics. So we have some class features we know we're getting out the gate. 1d10 per paladin level is the hit die, so we know 10d10 hit die. Hit points, I'm going to break out a calculator because that's how I do things. Terrible at math. So you start out at 10 plus your Constitution modifier, so that's a 12. And it's 6 plus con mod per level after first. So We have 8 times 9, 72. Okay. So we have a total of 84 hit points. Not too bad. Well, Fairy Law, it says that you have a. You say here in chat that fun trumps the rules until you learn the rules. Is how you've been playing. That's how I've always played, and I think that's the most fun. You know, a bad rules call is never gonna ruin someone's entire experience, and even if it does, even if something happens that's like truly tragic, like a character gets killed, you know, there's moves you have to get out of the way of it. You know, the GM can always fudge dice rolls, change outcomes, but also, you know, again, you learn and you make a new character, or you move on in a way that everybody thinks is fun. So as a paladin, they're proficient with all armors and shields, simple and martial weapons, and no tools. So they do get 2 skills to choose from between athletics, insight, intimidation, medicine, persuasion, and religion. So we're going to go ahead and give them religion, because paladins, though in 5e, paladins are not necessarily connected to a religion. They often tend to be in the Scarred Lands. Scarred Lands is a very religious-driven setting. You know, again, when like your grandpa fought in a war next to a god, religion's kind of a big deal. And then next, I think let's do athletics. Just gonna steer into being kind of buff. Proficient saving throws are wisdom and charisma. Now, equipment, we do not use the equipment. We use the equipment for paladins that's in here, partially because that creates a slightly better equipped to survive the Scarred Lands type. So you go to your Scarred Lands Player's Guide, which we will do momentarily. So for now, we're going to skip that. And we're going to look and see what we have going. So we have Divine Sense. Paladin feature, they get a number of times equal to 1 plus their charisma modifier. When they regain all spent uses when they rest. So charisma modifier is currently a +2. We go over here to the okay, I don't have a Divine Sense on here, so that's under limited use. Put Divine Sense. Put 3. That's how many you can use. Alright. Lay on Hands, we do have a spot for. And that is your Paladin level times 5, so you got 50 points of Lay on Hands. Fighting style. At 2nd level, you adopt a style of fighting as your specialty. So when I think of a Howl Legionnaire, and you got the lovely lady with the halberd on the cover of Dead Man's Rust, who I'm a huge fan of. This cover, by the way, by Aaron Riley, amazing artist. I did the Scarred Lands Player's Guide cover as well. Beautiful stuff. But you know, we got halberd. We got Howl Legionnaire monk in still sleeve armor there on the cover, fighting with a couple of war fans. But I think for Eddie's character, let's go defense, right? You can't go wrong with defense if you're a living suit of armor. So we're going to just put down fighting style defense. And I've pretty well assumed that I'm just going to clean this sucker before I hand it over. Sorry, again, for what you're looking at. with this character sheet. But that will grant a +1 bonus to AC while you're wearing armor, which, as a Hollow Legionnaire, you're always wearing armor. I'm just going to put +1 there so I don't forget it. Spell casting, we've got that covered. We'll figure out spell preparation later, but right now we can figure out the attack modifier and spell save DC. So our attack modifier is going to be 6. And spell save DC is going to be 6 or 14. Now that, again, that may go up. We have opportunities to gain some ability scores as we increase the level, but first we're going to handle all the non-ability score stuff. So Divine Health. By 3rd level, Divine Magic flowing through you makes you immune to disease. That's true. And so in Dead Man's Rust, we introduce what's called a malignant malady. The idea that there is a poison, curse, or disease that is reinforced with true ritual magic. In Scarred Lands, there's a subset of spells you can learn called true rituals. They take hours generally to perform, and they have massive effects. You can do things like raise a flying castle, or raise every corpse for 50 miles as an undead servant. Things along those lines. Things where you can really have a profound effect on the setting. Malignant maladies are achieved through the same type of magic and can only be cured through a similar type of effect. So having to contend with that pretty well eliminates a lot of your class feature immunities to disease, immunities to poison. If you work in the malignant malady rules as they're described in Dead Man's Rust and adapt those to your own table, you can have all sorts of things that players are accustomed to being immune to suddenly become a giant problem. But it's a problem that has a solution. So, that makes it fun. The theory goes. So getting past Divine Health, now we come to the fun part, Sacred Oath. The Scarred Lands Player's Guide has a lot to say about Sacred Oaths for Paladins. There are a few new ones in here, but there's also sort of a bit of a map kind of as to which of the Corionic orders would belong to which oath. And so we have the 4 knightly orders of Corion, known as the Adamantine orders. We're going to go ahead and say that the Hollow Legionnaire here, Paladin, is going to be a worshiper of Corion. Most of them are, though not all. So you have their tenets all, well, they each have, so the Oath of Adamant, they each follow the same tenets. Compassion, the meek and the helpless are your wards, as are the just and righteous. Safeguard the lives and livelihoods of those in your care. Duty, be responsible for your actions and their consequences, and obey those who have authority over you. Serve the Adamantine Church as the Church serves Corion. Honor, let your word be your pledge. Treat others with fairness, and let your honorable deeds be an example to them. Do as much good as possible while causing the least amount. Mercy, show mercy to your foes, but temper it with wisdom. For unrepentant servants of evil, a swift death is mercy. And valor, never fear to take action when it's called for, even though discretion is also a virtue. Protect all of those of good character and punish those who would harm. So, those are your general tenets that all paladins. Then some of the orders might have additional tenets. The Order of Gold. In addition to the general tenets, they have grace, withhold succor and healing from no just creature in its suffering. Those who do not worship the Adamantine Church still deserve your compassion. And purity. Root out and destroy disease, pestilence, and any other form of unwholesomeness. So that could be cool. Order of Gold. They're medics, basically. Get a lot of healing spells. Could be handy. We have a channel divinity ability called Bolster Life. As an action, you present your holy symbol and evoke a wave of healing energy. Choose up to 3 creatures you can see within 30 feet of you. Each target regains hit points equal to 1d8 plus your paladin level. There's no effect on undead or constructs. And also turning dead, of course. So they're healers. Order of Iron are the captains of the army, oftentimes mounted. Their tenets, in addition to the basic Corionic, are industry, always seek to make war against all Titan spawn without mercy. Those who serve the gods deserve your devotion and tireless service. And nobility, to lead is to serve is to lead. Make war honorably, be just in all conflict, and ensure good service and worthy conduct. It's very sort of chivalrous. There is the and with their channel divinity, they can actually use their reaction to grant another creature advantage on an attack roll. Or you can also declare a creature unclean. And basically it incapacitates it until it either takes damage or a minute passes. Is the Order of Mithril. The Order of Mithril's add courage, never balk or hesitate in the face of evil, stride forward fearlessly on any battlefield, always seek the greatest evil. Yeah, Dog Wizard, thanks for the resub. Or Perseverance. Never yield nor falter in serving the Lord of Valor. No persecution too severe, nor hurt too grave, no obstacle too wide nor too high. So they're pretty dope. And then the Order of Silver. Silver Knights are hope, be steadfast and undaunted by evil, let others be inspired by your example, hunt down all unnatural threats and unclean things and smite them without mercy, and prudence. Be wise and wary, always seek to unravel the stratagems of fiends and horrors, break the chains of bondage from those held thrall to darkness. So that sounds pretty cool. They get their channel divinity is Denounce the Unholy. They can speak approved denunciation when elemental fiend or titan spawn within 60 feet. Must make a wisdom save. And they're incapacitated until they take damage. So it's basically turn unholy. And then a silvery weapon. You can view a weapon you're carrying with positive energy. You add your charisma modifiers to attack rolls with that weapon. And it emits bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light in a 20-foot beyond that. If it's not silvered, it functions as if it were for the duration. It's pretty dope. Oh yeah, tell me about it, Dog Wizard. Yes, it is. I cannot wait to hold a copy of Dead Man's. It's going to be amazing. And for those of you who ordered it on Kickstarter, the physical books, I think they just said in the update, like, they're locking ship dates on those pretty soon. End of the month, I believe. So make sure you got your stuff updated on BackerKit, and make sure that if you haven't had a chance to back it on Kickstarter, you might want to go to your friendly local game store and let them know that Dead Man's Rust for Scarred Lands by X-Path Publishing is going to be available for order soon. It might be available for pre-order now. I'm not sure how it works through our distributors, but they can go to Indie Press Revolution or Studio 2 and get traditionally printed copies, the same copies that the Kickstarter backers are getting, are going to be available in game stores. You just have to go in and tell them to order it. And I would love that if you did that. So, let's see. What order do we want to give? I think we're going to... See, I don't want to... I always hate saddling somebody with healer. And I think in this particular case, Oh yeah, not having a friendly neighborhood game store is probably a bit of a downer there. But you also will be able to order the traditionally printed copy of Dead Man's Rust through Indie Press Revolution or Studio 2. But if you don't mind print on demand, it is up at RPG, also in PDF. You know what? Let's go with Order of Iron. Let's go with like a traditional like chivalrous knight type. So that's going to give us a couple of little things here that we need to keep track of. First of all, a couple spells that are automatically known and always prepared. So they always get Identify. They always get Shield of Faith. They always get Aid and Magic Weapon at 5th level. And then once they reach 9th level, they always have Hand of Justice and Protection from Energy. I'm sorry if you can't read that. It's very small. I apologize. But Hand of Justice is a 3rd level abjuration spell from the Scarred Lands Player's Guide, which is also available at Drive-Thru RPG, Indie Press Revolution, or your friendly local game store. Just saying. And Hand of Justice. Corion's Paladins use this spell as a battle prayer that begs the champion for the power to deliver immediate retribution against the unjust. Casting time is 1 action, range is self. Components are verbal and somatic. Duration is concentration up to a minute. Until the spell ends, you can make 1 melee weapon attack without using an action against any creature that attacks you while it is within 5. You can make only 1 such counterattack against each attacking creature per turn in this way, regardless of how many times it attacks you that turn. Your counterattack takes place immediately after the creature's first attack against you during the creature's turn. That doesn't count as a reaction. So you counterattack, and you can still like opportunity. It's a pretty dope spell. So that's one of the 3rd level automatically. So going back to our Order of Iron. Channel divinities are these languages. So channel divinities are Champion's Blessing. And Denounce the Unclean. And that allows you to choose 1 Fiend, Titan Spawn, or Undead within 60 feet that you can see. The creature must make a Wisdom saving throw. And on a failed save, they're incapacitated for a minute or until they take any damage. So yeah, you can just knock them silly. Now, again, since we know we're at 10th level, we can go ahead and mark down the 7th level Oath feature as well, which for a Order of Iron Paladin is you can inspire others to combat through stirring words and exhortations of valor. As a bonus action, choose up to 3 creatures within 10 feet of you that can see and hear you. For 1 minute, whenever one of those targets makes an attack roll, the target can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to the attack roll. So it's basically a bardic inspiration d4 for you. Oh, don't sweat an accidental link in chat. It's not a big deal. It happened. So Inspiring Tactician. Page that's on. And that's another limited use. Draws from a separate pool. So it's number times equal to your charisma modifier, and you regain when you finish a long rest. So that's 2 uses of that. And after that, we are back over to our basic rules for a moment. So heading back over that way, we'll catch the ASI on our way back through as well. We have the extra attack feature, obviously. And then Aura of Protection and Aura of Courage. And both of those are 10-foot auras. Friendly creatures within 10 feet of you can't be frightened while you're conscious. And starting at 6th level, whenever you are a friendly creature within 10 feet of you must make a saving throw. The creature gains a bonus equal to your charisma modifier, and you must be conscious. So that's a +2 to everybody's saving throws within 10 feet, including yourself. Not a bad deal to have. All right, so those are our basic classy sort of bits. We have 2 ASIs or feats. I'm going to just look through the Scarred Lands feats real quick in both the Player's Guide and the Youngman's Guide, just to see if there's anything that leaps out at me as like, oh, this is something we're doing. In the meantime, if any of you have any questions, whether it's about Dungeons and Dragons or about Scarred Lands or about Heavy Metal magazine or about where babies come from, feel free to shout them out in chat. I'm looking at this list of feats here. Like I said, I'm making these characters a little bit out of order because I probably should have done backgrounds before that. But budget, I say. Nothing that's jumping out at me yet. Oh, here we go. So here's a cool Scarred Lands feat. It's called Pious. The prerequisite is you must worship a god, so no Titan worshippers. Yeah, I mean, figure out maybe if you'd asked that beforehand, you wouldn't be, about ready to have some twins. And congratulations on the impending arrival of your beautiful babies. So there's a feat called Pious Prerequisite. You must worship a god. This is from the Scarland Player's Guide. Your profound devotion has drawn the attention of your deity, which protects you and helps you in time of need. You gain the following benefits. You gain proficiency with your deity's favorite weapon. This one, in this case, you already have it. You can use your god's favorite weapon as a divine token as a spellcasting focus to cast divine spells. Divine tokens are mundane items related to your deity that can easily be found or crafted and don't require special preparation. For Corion, it's a torch, an open flame, or a smith's hammer. So that's that in and of itself is cool. So like if you're a pious devotee of Corion, you could just use a campfire as a spellcasting focus if you have, which is neat. And then you also gain the Channel Divinity feature, which if you already have Channel Divinity, means you gain an additional use of Channel Divinity. So we'll go ahead and make sure we mark +1 to that because I haven't calculated Channel Divinity. And you get 2 new opportunities for it. Channel Divinity Call the Faithful. When you make an ability check related to your god's sphere of influence, so in Corion's case, it's courage, crafting, or protection, you can use your Channel Divinity to gain advantage on the check. Or Shield the Pious. When you are the target of an attack, you can use your Channel Divinity to impose disadvantage on the attack roll. So we're going to add those Channel Divinity options as well. Just going to note up here that we've got Pious. That's on page 113 of the Scarland's Player's Guide. All right, so that's one of our ASIs. And then the other ASI, I think, partially for simplicity's sake, but also partially so we can, do a little bit of bump in here. I think we'll take an ASI for the second one, and we'll dump those both into Charisma. So now we're looking at a 16. That's a +3. So that's going to kick up number of divine senses it gets, and the number of inspiring tacticians. That will also increase our spell attack bonus, spell save DC by 1. All right. So let's check our numbers here for features. Divine Sense is 1 plus Charisma modifier, so we've got 4 of them. Land Hands, Paladin level times 5, we got 50 hit points. Spellcasting we'll come back to. Channel Divinity. Okay, so you get 1 Channel Divinity as a Paladin. Nice. So in this case, you get 2 All right. So now we get to an extra fun part that I really enjoy about Scarred Lands is the backgrounds are sort of divided. You have a regional background and then like a social background. So regionally speaking, the Howl Legionnaires all come from the same spot. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to take the same regional background for them, but it doesn't hurt to do so. And in that case, that would be page 3. Well, you could go with urban resident, forester, or canyoneer, really. They're from sort of a valley in the middle. But there's a lot of cities there. So we're going to go with urban resident. So urban resident is going to be the regional background. And then there's social backgrounds. There are several social backgrounds in the Scarred Lands Player's Guide. I do recommend them, but there are some really fun ones here in Yugman's Guide to Gelspad, which again you can get over at Drive-Thru RPG right now in POD and PDF. Throw the link to Yugman's in the chat. And so our backgrounds, we have arcane societies. These societies study magic. Numbral Pentagon, the Phylacteric Vault, the Society of Immortal. That's not going to be our help. We have criminal societies, we have death societies, devotional societies, Adamantine Church. Bam! That's exactly who we are looking for, right? So, the Adamantine Church background will be our social background. And since I have that book open, we'll put the benefits from that in first. You get the social background minister, which gives you one from history, persuasion, or religion. Well, we already have religion, so do we want to do history or persuasion? Let's do history. That way, we're not trying to corner Eddie into giving any inspiring speeches. Not that I doubt it. And then they get a choice between alchemist supplies, calligrapher supplies, or carpenter's tools. Let's make them carpenters. And then they get an alms box, 2 blocks, incense, investments, and posters. So yeah, like you can promote the church. And the feature they get is called The Devil You Know. And what the Devil You Know grants you is the Adamantine Church is the largest group of Corion devotees on Gelspad, their relatively wide-known group. While there may be many who don't trust the church, especially among the redeemed races, and you know what to expect from you. So people tend to, it's kind of similar to the Acolyte background from standard D&D, and that people tend to like give you shelter and aid. In this case, though, it's even if they don't like you, partially because they respect the authority of the church, which is a pretty powerful entity. On Gelspad. And then getting back in here into Urban Resident, you'll notice too there's some equipment that comes with background, just like in sort of vanilla D&D. But the equipment packages for backgrounds and classes are a bit more. Yes, you might say. So we're going to say, we said Urban Resident, right? So that gives us Insight, History, or Religion. Well, we know where we're going now, right? We've got history, we've got religion, so let's take some insight. Skill languages, any one common language, so let's give them Elvish. That will help. The sort of principal non-evil residents of the Hornsaw Forest are a group of elves and dwarves, known respectively as Broadreach Elves and Broadreach Dwarves, who have cleared out a place called the Broadreach Horizon and settled it. And it's kind of this little spot that is restored to its pre-tainted glory, and they speak Elvish. So it's a good language to have for this campaign. Let's toss that in as the extra language. For equipment, they get billfold with the bona fides and proof of citizenship, papers or a journal, and a set of traveler's clothes. And their feature is hidden secrets. So you might. So basically, what that boils down to is you spent your years wandering about the streets of your hometown, maybe some other cities and villages. You're always curious to find all the odd or unusual things you can uncover. Sometimes you've hidden things yourselves, whether actual objects or hidden stories of a secret past. So hidden secrets basically means that you have stuff like kind of stashed around your hometown, which is kind of a cool vibe, I think. So that means if they are in the Hidden Valley, or if they're having ranch, if they're in the Gleaming Valley at any point, that could come in super duper handy, right? All right, and then we want to add papers, billfold, bonafide, traveler's clothes. Because, as you do. And then we have, because Scarred Lands is a bit of a extra dangerous, extra deadly sort of place, the starting packages for gear are a bit more impressive. So, the Hollow Legionnaire, you have a choice of stole sleeve armor, a diplomat's pack or explorer's pack, traveler's clothes, or a soldier's uniform. So let's add a uniform. Let's add a traveler's pack. Well, let's add an explorer's pack. And let's add a suit of spell sleeve. In case he decides he wants to put it on. And as Paladin, you get armor worth 75 gold or less. Let's check the armor prices, shall we? And a buckler or shield. Armors of Gelspad, and they're professional with light and medium. So let's do 75 gold or less. Let's do scale mail. They already have disadvantage on stealth, so there's really no reason not to. Right. Since they're glowy, let's pop that scale mail armor on. And just for the record, still sleeve armor counts as wearing, you count as being unarmored. You do have disadvantage in stealth checks, but your base AC is 12 plus your dex. So, like a monk or a barbarian can wear it. You just have disadvantage in stealth, which again you do anyway as a Hollow Legion. Oh, right. I should probably write down the armor class bonus for that. It's 14 plus dex mod with a max of 2. Our dex mod is -1, so but we have that +1 armor class from fighting style, so we're looking at a straight AC of 14 while in the armor, and then of course 16 with the shield. Now, we did say Paladin of Corion in the Scarred Lands Player's Guide. It does have, in the Cleric class, I believe, yes, it breaks down the favored weapon of each of the gods. And in Corion's case, it's a longsword. So I think we'll just go ahead and give a longsword to our Eddie. Gear. Longsword is 1d8 slashing. Are you moving far, Fairylaw? Sorry, you're talking about the move in the chat. Longsword. Attack bonus is going to be strength plus proficiency, so +6. 1d8. So +6. 110 slash. Okay, slash. So yeah, longsword's versatile. Yeah, D8, D10. Oh, it's not too bad. At least it'll be a quick transference of stuff. How about the packing and unpacking part? It's never fun. I wish you the best of luck in your journey. All right, so we got our weapon. hey, 10 minutes away. Every minute you can get away from it, probably. Shield, favorite weapon, 3 javelins or a simple weapon plus up to 20 ammo. Priest pack, explorer's pack, common clothes, and the holy symbol. So we already have the explorer's pack. We're going to take a holy symbol, and we will take a light crossbow, maybe? Got something with a little bit of range going on. All right. Light crossbow, which will be a +3 to hit, and 1d8 piercing. $20. Now, normally, for a character at this level, I would do some magic items. And I have a formula that I use, which is pretty much the same formula. If you're familiar with Xanathar's Guide to Everything, I pretty much use the same formula that's used for organized play. And then I just grant people a certain number of points with which to buy their magic items. And then I break it off by rarity. But we're trying to get this done in a speedy fashion, so I'm going to skip magic items, and I will probably grant a few once we're about 20 minutes away from the normal wrap time. So maybe what we'll do then is we'll dive in and check. Let's do spell preparation. We might wind up with 1 character done at the end of wrap time, and I'll just do Matthew's off camera. But that'll be okay, I suppose. And again, I apologize, I'm a little rambly. It's been a long couple of weeks. We just had Onyx PathCon, which was a super fun time, but it was a super lot to plan. And then I've just been, I had a bit of a downtime after that. It was sorely needed and greatly appreciated. And so I'm just kind of pulling things back together, but I really did want to make sure that we came on to celebrate tonight. We would have been doing our normal gameplay, but Milena's out of town visiting some relatives, and family is horrendously important. So I said, let's all take the week off, and I'll make some characters for this Pathcast. Which reminds me, if you're not listening to the Onyx Pathcast, you should go subscribe to it everywhere the podcasts are consumed. So you can check out our recent actual play of Crossroads Continent and our upcoming actual play of Dead Man's Rest. And Dead Man's Rest, I'd like to remind you again, is available in POD and PDF over at Drive. So, where was I at? Spell preparation. Oh, yes. So, to prepare the list of Paladin spells that are available for you to cast, you get a number of Paladin spells equal to your Charisma modifier plus half your Paladin level, rounded down. Okay? So we have 10th level Paladin, so that's 5. No. Wrong. We have 10th level Paladin with a Charisma of 3, so that's 13. Divided by 2, rounded down is 6. Alright? No, I'm wrong. It's Charisma modifier of 3 plus 5, so 8. 8 spells to prepare. So let's check out now that the ones that we mentioned before when we chose the oath. When you choose your Paladin oath, you get to a certain level. You get free spells that you learn at a certain level. They're always considered prepared, and they aren't considered against the number of spells you can have prepared. Paladins can cast any Paladin spell, but they get to change their spell preparations when they complete a long rest. So you can, as long as they spend 1 minute per spell level in prayer and meditation during that long rest, they can change their preparations. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll set up a nice spell selection for our good friend and go from there. Now, while there are some new spells in Dead Man's Rust, there's any Paladin spell. Let me check. Nothing. Nope. We got spells, we got magic items, we got new monsters, we got new monsters of the week. But nothing that's going to be pertinent specifically to our good friend Eddie. Now, Eddie's just a good old Paladin of Corion. So we're going to do this in a sort of roundabout way. We're going to look at the Scarlands Player's Guide first. And forgive my makeshift bookmarks saying this. Obviously, this is a well-loved copy of Player's Guide. I'm going to go to our spells chapter. Let me see what we have for Paladin spells. Our first level options are Holy Beacon. It would be silly not to take Holy Beacon as a Paladin. It's a super useful spell, in my opinion. It's famous for its use by the Corionic Paladins of the city of Mithril. The spell creates a bright signal light in the shape of the caster's holy symbol. Flies 10,000 feet above your head and can be seen for miles. In good line of sight, beacon can be seen for 30 miles on a clear day. And twice that distance at night. It immediately draws the attention of those who share your faith. They automatically spot the beacon if visibility allows. And the symbol of your faith is considered to be an associated object for teleporting to the beacon's order. So it helps with teleportation, but it also helps with a spell that Paladins get later called Holy Beacon's Amp, which does exactly what it sounds like. So any Paladin that's going to go out into danger should probably prepare Holy Beacon. And that leaves us with 7. All right. Second levels, we have Banished Shadow, which is cool, but I don't know that it's going to come in terribly handy. And Mass True Strike. Mass True Strike is lovely. It is what it sounds like. Up to 4 creatures of your choice within range have advantage on attack rolls until the end of your next turn. Yeah, let's go ahead and prepare that second level spell. That is again from the Scarlands Player's Guide, second level divination, 1 action, 60 feet, concentration up to a round. So that's handy. And now we have 6 spell preparations left. If anybody has a Paladin spell of levels 1, 2, or 3 that you absolutely love and would love to see shown off, feel free to call it out in the chat. Let's see. Third levels we have Hand of Justice, which they already know. Winged Mount and Weapon of Light. Both of those sound dope, so let's see what we've got here. A Weapon of Light, and A non-magical weapon you touch becomes a magic weapon. For the duration, the weapon has a +1 bonus to attack rolls and deals an extra 1d4 radiant damage when it hits. In addition, it gives off bright light in a 30-foot radius, and dim light for an additional 30 feet. So yeah, let's prep up Weapon of Light. That sounds dope. So that leaves us with 5 left, right? And then Winged Mount. 3rd level transmutation. During the Divine War, Corion granted some warriors the privilege of riding Valravens and Great Harriers, but they were insufficient in number to turn the tide against the flying minions of Gulaban and Lethene, 2 of the Titans. Champion asked his sibling Madriel for support, and the first angel gave wing to the mounts of Corion's warriors. This lasts 1 hour. You touch a willing beast, and it grows wings for the duration. The wings grant the target a flying speed equal to its base walking speed. So that's pretty lovely. Don't know that we'll use it, though, honestly. Because, once again, you're in a forest full of trees. So those are... We've now exhausted the Paladin Spells from Skyland's Player's Guide. I'm going to dip over into Yugman's Guide to Gelspad. Some spells, of which there are several, starting on page 97. Like, I realize it's super self-serving because I worked on it, but pound for pound, Yugman's Guide to Gelspad is one of the best expansions I think you will find for the 5th edition of the world's greatest role-playing game. So many different options in a very tight package. So for Paladin Spells in here, we have Brand of Light and Sun Spear. Sun Spear is one of my favorite spells. And for 3rd level, we have Life Force Transfer. So, Brand of Light. Creature that has this spell cast upon it can never be raised as one of the undead. Wouldn't really be something I don't think that a Corionic Paladin might have. What was the other one? Brand of Light, Sun Spear. I love that spell so much. There's even some art of it on the page. You probably can't see it, but dope art of a Sun Spear. So it's 2nd level evocation. You summon a Spear of Light that heals allies or inflicts blinding damage on your foes. It takes 1 action to cast, and its range is 60 feet. It's verbal and somatic components. Duration is 1 minute. Creates a glowing spear of white positive energy in your hand, which sheds bright light for 10 feet and dim light for another additional 10 feet. When you hold the spear, you have disadvantage on dex stealth checks. And as a bonus action on your turn, you may make a ranged spell attack using the spear, which targets an ally or enemy. On a successful ranged spell attack against an enemy, the target takes radiant damage equal to 2d4 plus your spellcasting ability modifier, and must succeed on a Constitution saving throw, become blinded until the end of their next turn. On a successful ranged spell attack against an ally, the target regains hit points equal to 2d4 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. The target is healed beyond its hit point total. Those points remain as temporary hit points. Once the spear is used to inflict damage or heal, it disappears. And you can pump it up by spending higher level spell slots. So I think we're going to add Sun Spear to the list of preparations. Let's go. I like spells that can kind of be used 2 different ways. And then what was the last Paladin spell in here? Life Force Transfer. Give that a look. Third level necromancy spell during Divine War. Even the priests of Madriel, the healer, were hard pressed to handle the casualties of war. Casting time is 1 action. Range is touch. Components verbal, somatic, and duration is instantaneous. You cast this spell, you absorb and thereby lessen part or all of the damage the target has taken. The target gains up to 20 hit points, and you lose hit points equal to half the damage healed this way. The spell has no effect on non-living targets, nor does it function if you target yourself. So it's basically like you literally are pulling their damage onto you or transferring your life into them. Again, probably not the vibe you're looking for. So we have 4 Paladin spells left. We're going to just go straight to the basic rules to pull the other 4 that we're going to prep. And again, you know, Eddie might look at this spell prep list and go, what? And change it. You know, all this stuff is mutable. You know, but just walking you through the process. So let's look for Paladin spells. I'm over at the D&D Beyond now. And we're going to filter them using D&D Beyond's advanced filter, which I do love. We're going to keep it to the basic rules. And we're going to go for level 1, 2, ones that we can cast. We need to choose 4 of them. Let's see. Cure Wounds seems kind of a no-brainer, and it is not one that they automatically get. So there's 3. Let's see. I think Branding Smite, maybe? An extra 2d6 radiant. And if the target is invisible, they become visible. Let's add a Branding Smite to the... Yes, we're down to 2. I think if I were out in the middle of a tainted forest, I might prepare, create food and water. Now, right now we have a pretty heavy, we're leaning pretty heavily on 3rd level spells, which we only have 2 slots for. So let's make sure we grab another, and we might blow all those 1st level slots on Cure Wounds though. And I think having Revivify might be, especially if you run across any other Legionnaires who are in danger of succumbing to the disease. So, that, my friends, is a character. All set up, ready to rock and roll, needs magic items, needs a name and some personality stuff. Oh, and alignment's probably going to be lawful good because that's Corion's alignment. So yeah, a little bit of math here. Figure out the proficient skills, +6 for athletics checks, add +4 for history, +5 insight, +4 nature. +4 religion. Initiative is +1. And there's our character. There's our Hollow Legionnaire Paladin of the Iron Order. So this more or less will be the character that Eddie will be playing during the Pathcast. I may actually go over to my channel, not tonight, but if time permits, I might go over this weekend and drop Matthew's character over there. But if you popped in and checked this out, once again, whether live or on VOD, I greatly appreciate it. If you have picked up Dead Man's Rust already, if you backed on the Kickstarter, or if you went over to DriveThruRPG and picked it up, I'm ever in your debt. I really hope you enjoy it. I had a lot of fun working on it. I know the whole team had a lot of fun working on it. I adore every last one of the people that worked on this book, and we had an amazing time bringing this adventure to life. And it is good to finally be able to start getting it into people's hands. That being said, I just want to remind you one last time to go ahead and go pick that up. I also want to make sure I remind everyone that this month, this is the 10-year anniversary of Onyx Path Publishing. Each month, there's a different setting that is sort of the focus of the month, the focus of the celebration. This month's focus is Chronicles of Darkness. There's a lot of game lines in Chronicles of Darkness, so the sales are pretty short on it. But if you head over to DriveThruRPG right now, you can pick up all the Vampire the Requiem 2nd edition stuff for 90% off. I just got everything, I think, for Vampire the Requiem 2nd edition in PDF for about $10. So go forth, spend your money over at the drive-thru. Like I said, pick up Dead Man's Rust. I'll throw the link in the chat one more time. And if you are interested in those, some of the spells and features that we were discussing, definitely pick up Skyland's Player's Guide, as well as their first link I dropped in the chat there is Dead Man's Rust. So I'll pick up Youngman's Guide to Galspad. Again, pound for pound, one of the best 5e expansions, I think. Just covers a lot of ground. A lot of great work. Authors worked on this book as well. Had a really good time working on it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet done so, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Wash your hands, wear a mask, get vaccinated, good to yourselves and each other. We will be back here in 2 weeks' time to play Dead Man's Rust. They are in the thick of it right now. They're about 2/3 the way through the adventure or so. So lots of fun stuff. If you want some spoilers, go back and listen to the podcast. Sins of Shelzar is available anywhere podcasts are consumed. A couple episodes behind. I'm going to rectify that this weekend. And yeah, we'll see you again real soon. Thank you so much for stopping in. Let's see who gets the raid tonight. Who gets the raid? Devil's Luck. Our good friends over at Devil's Luck Gaming are playing Hunter the Vigil. And it is Chronicles of Darkness month, so it would be rude of me not to raid. So I'll get that set up, and we'll see you all again real soon. Thank you so much.